go ahead.
Okay. So it looks like still there's nobody watching YouTube, so I'll skip that preamble and let Don just go ahead and run the meeting.
Okay, we're ready.
Okay, then this is Don Krieger. I have present with me here in the chambers Chuck Manson and Peg Lazio. Via telephone, I have Marilyn Watts and Larry Jarvis, which gives us a quorum of 5. All other members are either absent or have resigned. I will call this meeting to order for this would be the regular monthly meeting for the Planning and Zoning Commission for the City of Ottumwa. This meeting is called to order. Our agenda includes approval of the minutes from our previous meeting. Chair would entertain a motion.
So moved.
It's been moved that we accept the minutes as presented. Anyone have any additions or corrections?
She got a second.
Second.
Okay, moved and seconded, I'm sorry. Those on speakerphone, do you have any additions or corrections to be made to the minutes as you had mailed to you?
No.
Okay, hearing from both of them that the answer was no, and hearing that we have a motion to approve the minutes, I will call the question and I will do it in roll call order. Don Krieger is a yes. Chuck Manson?
Yes.
Deborah Hutton is absent. Next would be Marilyn Watts
Yes.
and Larry Jarvis
Yes.
and Peg Lazio.
Yes.
That carries unanimously of the 5 people present, so the minutes are approved. Next item on our agenda is a amendment to the zoning ordinance. This needs to be a public hearing, so I will open the public hearing portion of the meeting for this purpose. And I will turn it over to Zach, who is our representative from the staff that will brief us on that ordinance change. Zach, are you with us?
I am Don. So this is a zoning ordinance change that you've already heard before. It deals with residential conversions, multifamily buildings that were converted from single-family buildings. Those buildings have some of the lowest assessed values in the city, and they present some recurring issues for our health department inspectors. We had looked at this ordinance at a previous meeting, but the staff hadn't submitted the public hearing notice, apparently, or at least we couldn't find a record of it. And so we have to hold this again with correct public hearing notice. The ordinance will make a few changes. Basically, it will prevent adding these new conversions without a conditional use permit. It will also require that the existing residential conversions are either maintained by following the code, staying occupied, or if they're not used for a period of 1 year, that they would need to come and secure a new conditional use permit.
Zach, this is Don Krieger, the chairman. I'm going to cut you off.
Conversions.
Wait a second.
You will have to maintain a minimum 500 square feet per housing unit. That would avoid having a situation where we have many of the worst of these buildings where
Zach?
we have 8 units packed into a house.
It's not muted, is it?
Single family, and those units are very small
Zach?
and unsuitable for modern living.
Zach?
Okay, while he rambles on, I will address the commission. This is an item that we've had presented to us before, and this is a public hearing. Now, we have the staff's recommendation that we approve it, and we have approved this previously. It was only a snafu in the presentation of how we did it. So I will pose a question to commission members. Do you have any questions for Zach that he needs to address?
No.
No.
No. No.
Okay, and that's 5 no's, including myself.
Motion to approve?
The chair first has to go through the public hearing process, and even though we have an empty chamber, I will ask the staff if they've had any communications with public relative to this ordinance.
I have not had any written or oral objection. Zach, have you?
No, we opened up to comments at the door, comments to my email address, comments by phone, or comments by mail, because we can't have people in the hearing today, and we received no comments in any of those ways.
Very good. I will make the call to the empty chambers. If there's anyone present that wishes to address the commission regarding this issue, now would be the time for them to make themselves known. And let it be noted that I made that offer and no one present stepped forward.
Does the chair, to be in touch with the chair, entertain a motion to adjourn the public session?
Yes, I would.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that we adjourn the public hearing portion of this meeting, and I will do so. The public hearing is adjourned.
Okay. Would the chair entertain a motion to approve the change?
Yes, I would.
So moved.
Second.
I'll second it.
Okay, Marilyn second.
I'm going to use
Go, girl.
It's been moved and seconded that the amendment to the zoning ordinance, section 38 through 74, table 38, 115, and section 38-870, as the staff recommended, be amended. All those and anyone with any questions for the staff or anyone regarding? I will do this by roll call vote again. This time I will start with Chuck. And
Yes.
Chuck is a yes. Marilyn, you would be next.
Yes.
You're a yes. Larry Jarvis.
Yes.
Larry Jarvis is a yes. Peg Lazio.
Yes.
And Don Krieger is a yes. So by the 5 members present, constituting a quorum, we have passed the ordinance modifications. Next item on the agenda is a conditional use permit concerning 116 North Green. And I will turn it over to staff to brief us on that. Now, this is something we have not seen before.
All right, I'll take this one as well. This is Zach, and I apologize. I'm homesick with sore throat and a low fever, so I don't have my notes in front of me, so I'm going to go from memory on this, but you do have all the details in the packet. This rezoning request, or sorry, it's not a rezoning request, this conditional use permit deals with 116 North Green Street, which is the old American Legion building. This building is in the downtown C4 district. In the C4 district, ground floor housing units are only allowed by conditional use permit. Otherwise, the ground floor should be reserved for commercial or civic or another use like that. The applicant in this case is seeking to do a historic renovation of the building that would look at making the building all or nearly all open only for housing units. There's a social club that meets in the front room. For now, they're expecting to keep that as a commercial space, but otherwise move everything to housing units in the building. We didn't make a recommendation as staff at the time we sent the packets out because we wanted to hear from the Main Street Ottumwa folks about how they felt that this would interact with the downtown district. I heard back from Frank last week that they don't have an issue with allowing ground floor dwelling units at this location because of where it's situated. This building doesn't have any immediate neighbors. It's also on the edge of the district. It's different than a building on Main Street that has shared walls with other buildings, those sort of things. I can't go point by point through the different things we're supposed to look at because I don't have the packet in front of me, but there won't be any substantial changes as a result of this conditional use permit that would have an impact on neighboring properties. And so the staff would change from what is in the packet to tell you today that our recommendation is to approve the conditional use permit based on what we got back from the Main Street folks.
All right, thank you, Zach. First, I'll go to the 2 individuals on the phone. Marilyn, do you have any questions for staff or anyone else for that matter?
My question is this. Went by the property, know where it is. If they rent this or put this in to people to rent, there is an area there beside of it before you go down to the lawyer's place. Is that where these people will park? Because otherwise it's just street.
I'm sorry, Zach, were you able to hear
Kevin might have
that?
to fill in if I can't completely answer it, but I think the question was the parking.
Right.
There is no parking minimum in the C4 district. We would expect these people to park using on-street parking or public parking lots, although there could be off-street parking created as a project. There's no requirement for off-street parking in the downtown C4. And if Kevin has more to add to that.
No, I would say that's the truth of it. There might be the capability of that being undertaken, but I would say the same thing you just did, basically.
Have they had apartments in the upper floor? What's in the upper floor?
Are the upper floors being used currently, Zach?
The upper floors are not currently being used. Only the front of the ground floor is being used for a social club. The rest of it's currently vacant. The applicants in this case are prospective buyers who would be taking the property over from the current owners, but their purchase is contingent on receiving a conditional use permit.
Okay. How long has it been since there's been any business or anything actually in there? Do you know, Zach?
Do you know, Zach? I don't.
I don't. I know that it's been quite some time. That is a historic building. It's listed on the National Register. And in my memory, there hasn't been, as long as I've been living in town, I don't remember the last time something was in there. If Fred were here, I'm sure he would know.
When there's like unions or something, some type of union in
Well,
there?
most of us old farts like me, you guys remember it as being where the Legion was, I think is what was in the notes. I remember there being a union hall
Right.
there.
Yeah, it was a union hall. I'm not quite sure which one it was.
Yeah, I'm not real sure either.
So on what, I was wondering about the historic status of it. Is it just simply historic because it's old? It doesn't look like any particular style. Looks like it's been added on to several times.
It's probably is it on the historic registry, Zach?
The building is individually listed on the registry and is also contributing to the greater Second Street district. I'm not sure what about the building, other than maybe its use as an American Legion Hall. I know that there are some architectural features to the ballroom upstairs that are quite nice. And if they were to pursue historic preservation tax credits, the state historic preservation would probably require that they maintain some of those features in some way.
Being on the historical register would limit to some extent some of the alterations that would be allowed should they decide to put in apartments or something in some of those spaces.
That's correct, unless they don't intend to maintain the registry. A private property owner would be free to demolish the building, change it substantially if they were willing to lose their access to the privileges that come from being listed on the registry.
Yeah, and that's true for any building that's on the registry.
Okay.
I did have another question about parking. If that's not unfair to the rest of the area to require those people to use on-street parking, it limits it to people who might be doing that for shopping or other, short-term uses like that. Does the landowner, the potential owner, own either side, the lot either side of that so they could make parking?
On one side's the alley.
Did you hear that?
So, this is Larry Jarvis. Got it. So a couple questions, which I don't know that you can answer or not. Where do the people that live in the Tisdale apartments, where do they park?
In the which apartment? Oh, go ahead.
If that complex is in the C4 district, then I don't know.
And
They're
and
probably
the
across the street.
and the apartment that's almost directly across the street, where do those people park?
I think some of these cases they're parking on Third Street possibly, or
In the parking lot and
Yeah.
to the west.
right there, yeah. But
On the
I'm
curve.
not sure because of course, again, in C4, they're actually not required to provide. So I'm not sure, but I would guess that.
I would just mention to answer the parking question a little as well, that the upper story part of this, if they were to put housing units up there, they would not be required to provide parking for those units. The added parking that might come from the residential units on the ground floor, we have to consider those. That parking a little bit, it may trade off a little bit, but also if we made them maintain it commercial and they found commercial tenants, those commercial tenants would also be using parking spaces in the C4 district as well. I'd say that there's probably, if we're going to go back and forth, we could say that maybe the upstairs, the residential tenants are going to use parking less during the day than a commercial tenant would. But we don't really get into those questions because the C4 doesn't require the parking off the street.
And there's really nothing in the Herman Gardens building, is there? To the east?
In the Harmon Gardens building?
I don't believe so.
I don't know which one that is. I'm
That'd be
sorry.
to the east, up the alley and to the east.
I don't know if that one has parking either. I can. try
There's
to
some
pull the
parking
map
spaces
up.
there, and I don't recall there's anything in the building anymore. So that'd be, like a place to park. Nobody squawks. Okay.
Okay. On the phone, we have Marilyn and Larry. Did you have any other questions, folks?
No.
No,
Okay. Here in the room, Chuck, did you have any questions from staff or for staff? Peg?
So the other question, I guess we've talked about in various ways, is that spot zoning? But is there you said there are other apartments down there?
There are, but we're not changing the zoning. We're just doing a special use permit recommendation. So you're giving a recommendation for a special use permit process that'll go through the ZBA. They're not going to rezone it. They're just requesting that they're allowed to do elevation living in the C4, which is not something normally that we would recommend, of course, because, it's one of the most protected things in a C4 is going to be that elevation commercial. But in this case, we felt there was a certain allowance to look at it as a possibility because it's so isolated. The building is a standalone and it's somewhat separate from the rest of the C4 district. And it's hard to see much more
Use for it then?
much more of a
There's-
maximized
Right.
use for it, yeah. Because it's limited on a commercial, it's tiny, it's quite small. So it's a little bit limited.
what I would see as a plus of that area is that he gives it some better look than what it is now. That's a plus.
Yeah, the building is going, it's, headed in a blighted direction. Yeah.
It is, yeah.
Yeah, good point, Marilyn. Would Chair entertain a motion to approve?
Yes, I would.
So moved.
It's been moved to approve the staff's recommendation that we approve the request for a conditional use permit. Anyone care to second?
I'll second.
Seconded by Peg Lazio. That will put the floor open to discussion. Members of the commission are welcome to ask any further questions or state their positions. I would go first to those members here in the chambers that made the motion. Chuck, anything you'd like to
I
say?
think it'd be a good move. I'm very much like Marilyn. I'm concerned about the blight condition it's occurring, and if somebody's got a good plan for resurrecting it and rejuvenating it, I'm all in favor of it.
Okay. Peg, anything you'd care to say?
No, just agree.
Okay.
Agree with Chuck.
Kudos.
Then I'll go to the two members on the phone. Larry, anything you'd care to voice in?
No, I think, I think what Chuck said, I think that's fine.
Yep.
Okay, then I'll move to Marilyn. Anything you'd care to say?
No, I'm comfortable with that.
Okay. And the chairman would say the same. I am quite comfortable with moving the question. Staff has forwarded a favorable recommendation, as do I. I agree with the observations made that we are putting a building to use that it would currently be on a track towards a blight condition, and that it is far enough removed from the rest of the downtown area that I feel like we are not setting a dangerous precedent by allowing residential occupation on the ground floor. Two main things for me. I will move the question and I will call the roll. And we will start by the list again. Let's see, I need to go down to, I'll start with Marilyn this time. Marilyn, yay or nay?
Yes.
Next one would be Larry Jarvis.
Yes.
And then Peg Lazio.
Yes.
And Don Krieger is a yes. And Chuck Manson.
Yes.
That would be 5 yeses out of the 5 commission members present, making our quorum. And motion carries. Thank you, everyone. I will almost conclude. I want to announce to everyone, make sure they're aware that we did receive a letter of resignation from Mary Ann Ryder. We will have a new member starting our next meeting. Lori Schwarney did agree to serve on the commission. She has to go, her approval needs to go before the council at their next regular meeting, which I think is tomorrow night. And that's assuming that that goes through, that she will join us. But I wanted to make sure everyone knew that Mary Ann did send in her letter of resignation.
Thank you
What
for your
about
service.
what about William Johnson? Is
Hopkins?
he gone also?
Yes, Bill is gone. He did give us his letter of resignation about a month ago.
Okay.
Okay, so having said all that, I'm going to adjourn our meeting. So we stand adjourned.
So adjourned. Thank you.
Good night. Good night, everybody.
Good night.
Bye, and thank you.
Everybody, I really appreciate it.
You betcha.
Okay, you're welcome. Bye-bye.
Isn't technology grand?